Charles Manson was a notorious American cult leader who formed and led a group of followers known as the Manson Family. Born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1934, Manson had a difficult childhood, bouncing between various homes and juvenile detention centers. By the age of 13, he was already a career criminal and spent much of his young life in and out of jail. In the late 1960s, Manson moved to San Francisco and began to attract a following of young, disaffected people who were drawn to his charisma and promises of a better life. He styled himself as a guru and convinced his followers that he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. The Manson family lived together in a commune-like setting on a ranch in California, where they engaged in drug use, sex, and bizarre rituals. Manson preached a philosophy of helter-skelter, in which he predicted an apocalyptic race war between black and white Americans, which he believed was prophesied in the Beatles' song of the same name. It was the summer of 1969, and Hollywood was buzzing with excitement. But that excitement soon turned to terror when the news broke of the grisly murders of Sharon Tate and her friends at the hands of the Manson family. The group, led by the charismatic but disturbed Charles Manson, had been living in a commune in the California desert, where they had been experimenting with drugs and engaging in strange and violent rituals. But it wasn't until Manson became fixated on the idea of starting a race war that things took a truly dark turn.
On the night of August 8, 1969, Manson sent 4 of his followers, Susan Atkins, Linda Kasabian, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Charles Tex Watson, to the home of Sharon Tate, a rising Hollywood starlet who was 8 months pregnant at the time.
Armed with knives and guns, the group entered the house and brutally murdered Tate and her 4 friends, including famed hairstylist Jay Sebring. The scene was horrific. The walls were splattered with blood, and the bodies were mutilated beyond recognition. But Manson and his followers were far from finished. The next night, they struck again, this time killing wealthy grocery store owners Leno and Rosemary LaBianca in their home. As the police frantically searched for the killers, Manson and his followers fled to the desert, where they continued to carry out bizarre and violent acts. But it wasn't long before they were caught and brought to trial for their crimes. What made the Manson family murders so shocking and gruesome was not just the brutality of the killings, but also the twisted motives behind them. Manson was convinced that he was a messiah figure, and that by inciting a race war, he could bring about a new era of peace and harmony on Earth. His followers were similarly deluded, willing to do anything to please their leader and prove their loyalty. The Manson family's killing spree shocked the nation and made Manson a household name. He was eventually caught and brought to trial, along with several of his followers. Despite his lack of direct involvement in the murders, Manson was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to death. However, his sentence was later commuted to life in prison after California abolished the death penalty. Manson's legacy has been a subject of fascination and study for decades, with many people still trying to understand his motives and the psychology behind his cult following. He died in prison in 2017 at the age of 83. Catch up for more story. Catch up for more story. Catch up for more story.